Hey, what is up YouTube? And the day we have all been waiting for is finally here. Today we are taking a look at the brand new iPhone X. In today's video, we are doing a hands-on unboxing and review of the device. And so with me today, I have the iPhone X in the silver colorway. Now, of course, this comes in two colorways, being silver and space gray. In today's video, we are taking a look at the silver one. To start this review, we're going to take a look at the outer boxing and then open it up and take a look at the brand new iPhone X. So stay tuned. So starting off, let's go ahead and take a look at the box itself. On the front, we now have the front of the iPhone X depicted, showing off the massive 5.8-inch OLED display. Now this is compared to the iPhone 8 and iPhone 7 boxes that showed off the back of the iPhone. This time, instead of highlighting the camera array, Apple chose to show off the brand new OLED display. And I'm not surprised at this design change, as the new display is probably the most recognizable new feature of the iPhone X. That is, as well as the little notch at the top, which holds the true depth camera system as well as a ton of other sensors. And we can also see the home button has been entirely removed and replaced by the screen, and because of this elimination, the new iPhone will now be controlled entirely with gestures, as noted by this little white icon at the bottom of the display. Anyway, I will get into all the new features in a more in-depth video to come, but for most of today's video, I'm going to strictly focus on unboxing and initially setting up this new device. One thing that I thought was very interesting about the front of the iPhone X boxes, however, is based on your color variation being silver or space gray. Even though the front of the phones are both black, there is a different wallpaper being displayed on each device based on the color that you ordered. Also, as a little hidden secret, the date says Tuesday, September 12th, which was the date that the iPhone X was announced, and the time displays 9:41, which was actually the time Steve Jobs announced the first iPhone ever 10 years ago. Alright, so taking a look at the back, we can see that this iPhone is the 64GB model, which is now thankfully the base model of the iPhone X as well as the iPhone 8 models. So this is some great news that Apple has upgraded the base storage capacity for these new phones. Also, the box state that includes the iPhone X, the EarPods with lightning connector. Now these are just the standard wired earbuds that we have seen in the past, and they are not the wireless AirPods. Those of course are sold separately for $159. The headphones, however, will have a lightning connector, as the iPhone X does not have a headphone jack, similarly to the iPhone 8 and 7 models before it. Just like with the previous models as well, it does come with the Lightning to 3.5mm headphone jack adapter for older style headphones. You will still be able to use those. Lastly, the box includes the standard Lightning cable and USB power adapter. Now just to clarify here as well, just like the iPhone 8, the charger that comes in the box is the standard 5-watt charger and is not the 29-watt USB-C fast charger. To enable fast charging on the iPhone X, you have to purchase the fast charging brick as well as the USB-C to Lightning cable as well. Anyway, moving to opening the box itself, you can easily open it by peeling the plastic away, starting with this green tag. It's nice that we no longer have to grab a knife or a pair of scissors to open the box. We can easily jump into it. So after taking off the plastic on the box, we can now easily lift the lid. We are then presented with these informational packets that simply say designed by Apple in California, and of course the iPhone is underneath. So taking a look at this packet real fast, on the top we simply have this little welcome to iPhone sheet, which essentially walks you through how to use the device. Now this has changed vastly compared to all the other previous models, as the iPhone X's functionality is completely different. We now see the elongated side button, which replaces the power/lock button on older devices, and this button will now be used for Siri, Apple Pay, as well as to power off the device. But to finish up this packet real fast, next up we have the iPhone user guide sheet, which displays some legal information in more detail, and very lastly, just like every iPhone, we have two Apple logo stickers. Alright, so here we are getting our first look at the iPhone X itself out of the box and in hand. So I'll go ahead and power this guy on and put it off screen real fast, and we'll finish up taking a look at what is in the box. Just below the iPhone, of course, we have the standard wired EarPods, and just on the back of the EarPods, we have the headphone to Lightning jack adapter. Now this comes standard with every iPhone, and so you can still use older style headphones. The last two things in the box are of course the standard lightning cable and 5-watt charging brick. So now we're going to take a hands-on look at what the setup process looks like on the iPhone X, and presumably it's going to be much different than the previous devices. Of course, we all have similar features like the quick start option to transfer data from an older device to the iPhone X, that is as long as your older device is running iOS 11, but I'm mostly looking forward to setting up Face ID for myself and seeing what that process looks like. Now essentially Face ID will entirely replace Touch ID. This new feature is supposed to be more secure than Touch ID as it maps the unique geometry of your face with over 30,000 infrared dots. Thus it cannot be faked with a photo or a mask. So here is what the setup process will look like. And so essentially it just came up as one of the things to set up while you were first initiating your device. And so essentially you just position your face within the frame, and actually I had to move the phone off the side to the camera so the camera was not in the way of the shot, but essentially you just tilt your head around in a circle. It's pretty intuitive of how this process works. It's a very quick process for it to complete its first scan, and it does a second scan just at a little bit slower pace so it can get a more detailed representation of your face in the device. And that was pretty much it. That's how quick it was and easy to set up Face ID. And as you'll see throughout the rest of this video, it actually works very surprisingly fast. Almost faster than Touch ID if I'd say so myself. Lastly, just to highlight one of the new features in the iPhone X being the True Tone display. Now this is a really cool feature that was first introduced in the smaller iPad Pro and has now been adapted to the iPhone 8 as well as the iPhone X in today's video, and basically it tries to mimic what a sheet of paper would look like in your current lighting conditions. As you can see, this is what the display looks like when it's off, and this is what it looks like when it's on. Alright, now that we have gone through the entire setup process on the iPhone X of how to set it up from scratch directly out of the box, now that we're on the home screen of iOS 11, I really wanted to take a look at the device for myself now that it is in hand and fully set up. Now there are so many new features and hardware in the iPhone X, I won't have time to get into all of it today, but I will highlight as many new features as I can in today's video as they come up. I also wanted to use this time to give my first impressions on the device and to test out how well the new features such as Face ID actually work. So taking a look at the iPhone X, of course the very first thing you're going to notice is the brand new 5.8-inch OLED display with this little notch at the top. Now this notch holds the true depth camera system as well as a ton of sensors. It holds the infrared, proximity, and ambient light sensors. It also holds the IR dot projector, which essentially is the key behind Face ID, and of course holds the microphone, speaker, and 7 megapixel FaceTime camera. Now just taking a step back and looking at the device as a whole, it feels absolutely incredible in my hand, and I'm actually not too disappointed with the size of it as the display is absolutely massive. But what's also impressive is the sides and the back. The edges of the device are now entirely comprised of a stainless steel band. This makes the iPhone X feel like a much more premium iPhone model than that of the previous models that have aluminum bands. On one side, we can see that we have the brand new elongated side button, which has entirely replaced the previous lock and power button on older devices. As well as locking your device, this button will now be used to activate Siri as well as Apple Pay cards. On the opposite side of the device, we have a rather similar design to that of the regular sized iPhones, which includes 2 volume rocker buttons as well as the vibration toggle. And of course on the back, just like the iPhone 8, we have an entirely glass back which allows for wireless charging. Also, most notably on the back is the brand new vertical camera array. Now these cameras have been upgraded ever so slightly from those on the iPhone 8. They both comprise of 12 megapixel sensors, one being a wide lens and one being a telephoto, but the big key difference is they both now support optical image stabilization. This means that when you use the zoomed in telephoto lens when recording video on the iPhone X, it should be much more stable than that of the iPhone 8. But as well as the vertical camera array, right next to it we have the True Tone Quad LED flash, just like we saw on the iPhone 8 as well. Also, while we're on the topic of cameras, the front-facing FaceTime camera now allows for portrait mode as well. So that is a quick look at some of the new hardware found within the iPhone X. For the last part of this video, I just wanted to quickly jump into Geekbench and run a quick Geekbench to see what the scores are. Presumably they should match pretty dang closely to that of the iPhone 8, as both devices have the brand new A11 Bionic chip. The A11 Bionic is a 6-core CPU having 4 efficiency cores and 2 high-performance cores, and is roughly 25% faster than that of the iPhone 7. So taking a look at the Geekbench score, we can see that we have a single core score of 4235 and a multi-core score of 10,262, and that is absolutely insane for a smartphone. Also interesting to note, my iPhone shipped with iOS 11.0.1, which I'm actually not too disappointed at. I might keep my phone at the slower firmware just to ensure my chances at a new jailbreak if one does come out for iOS 11 here in the near future. But just so you guys know, you do have a software update waiting for you if you so desire to install it. You can easily head to the Settings app, navigate to General, and then navigate to Software Update, and as you guys can see, iOS 11.1 is waiting there for you to install. For the next part of this video, I wanted to take a look hands-on at jumping into the home screen of the iPhone 10 and taking a look at how some of the new gestures work. So here is a very quick look at the new gestures on the iPhone 10. As we saw from Apple's keynote, to open the device, we simply swipe up from the bottom of the cover sheet to enter the home screen. And once we are in an app, we can return to the home screen by performing the same gesture. I'm most impressed by this gesture here that can be used to switch between apps very quickly. But if you want to go into the full multitasking view, you simply swipe up about halfway and hold the card there until multitasking appears. Next up, the control center is accessed by swiping down from the top right corner of the display, and the cover sheet is accessible by swiping down from the left. To access Siri, you now hold the side button for a few seconds. Also, to access Apple Pay cards, you can double press the same button. Lastly, since there is no home button, the screenshot gesture has also been changed. Now you press the side button and volume up button at the same time. Also with the same button combination, to turn off the device, you press and hold the side and volume up buttons. Lastly, to force restart the device, you do a similar gesture as found on the iPhone 8. You simply press the volume up, then the volume down, and then press and hold the side button until the phone turns off. Anyway guys, for the purpose of this video, that is just a quick look at some of the gestures you will immediately use when you use your iPhone 10. Now just as a general overview of my first impressions of this device, overall I'm very satisfied with how the device works, with how big the display is, and with how the gestures function with the new device. Overall, it is a very easy device to just pick up and use, even with all the design changes and new gestures added in the iPhone 10. My only complaint that I've found so far is that there are a ton of apps out there that have yet to be updated to accommodate for this new display. But that is not uncommon, and we've seen this in the past, so hopefully app developers over time will update all of their apps to work on the iPhone 10. The very last thing I wanted to do is put my iPhone 10 in my silicone case. I personally chose the white silicone case to match the white back of the silver iPhone. Plus, the silicone cases have the microfiber filament on the inside of the case to prevent scratching on the iPhone 10. And that was something I was very concerned about when choosing a case, considering the edges of the iPhone are now stainless steel, and stainless steel scratches very easily. So if you guys want to check out my full review of my iPhone 10 silicone case, I will have that linked down in the description of this video. Lastly, just like I did in my iPhone 10 case review, I just wanted to compare these three devices side by side, noting the size of the regular sized iPhone to that of the iPhone 10 to that of the plus sized models, and as you can see, the iPhone 10 is closer in size to the regular sized iPhone than that of the Plus model, but the screen is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely massive, and I'm really not too disappointed in the size of the phone. Anyway guys, that pretty much sums up everything I wanted to cover in today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. Be sure to stick around for a ton of iPhone 10 coverage and new videos related to it. If you want to be updated more often, feel free to follow me on the above social media pages, and of course, subscribe if you haven't already to ensure you are updated when I release a new video like this one. Feel free to leave me a comment in the description of what you would like to see as far as iPhone 10 videos go. In the end, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this is Tony, signing out.